points, but were he to get the win, that would bump him up to 7, which puts him, what, on par with Bank Yugi. It's where Glory is kind of at if he were to take the loss here. I think it would be at 8 points at the end of the week, but it's firmly middle of the pack, leaving the likes of Dawn, Blitzchung, and maybe Chonsu down as well, Lambi series as well towards the bottom. But just of the utmost importance. You could see Alan yesterday after he clutched that game 5 that was so well played, so delightful to see. It meant the absolute world to him. So let's hope that he's able to carry that on today. An interesting starting hand here, the kind of hand with Bone Chewer Brawler and Orc Merchant that you would snap keep on the coin, but on the play it gets a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, that's right. If you keep it on the play, it means you are either tempoing out the Orc Merchant on a 1 or missing a 1-drop very likely. And you don't really want to tempo it out when its best use is to buff up the Bone Chewer Brawler. And having the Divine Shield, honestly, is even less important versus Rogue compared to other matchups. So I like that Alan has tossed it away. But oh my goodness, Glory the best possible opener. What the heck? Octobot, Field Contact, and another Octobot. How do you do it?
I honestly don't even know what you're supposed to do with all this. Like, say Alan just plays the Bone Chewer Brawler and goes face. Do you play Secret Passage and then bump? Do you bump and then go Field Contact One Thief? Like, there's so many good things that you can do here. I'm not even sure what the best order is.
Well, it'll depend on what he gets next. That is a Cult Neophyte. So if he bumps first, the Field Contact obviously only draws 1 at the moment. So I kind of like holding off for the next turn where he can get guaranteed 2 draws. There's a world where he is able to proc his own Octobot. Say he gets like one of the Aug Merchants here and a Shadow Step. Doesn't hit it, but he's able to clear off the Bone Chewer Brawler. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the big one, right? Because he wants to set up for having an actual activated second Octobot. When that one comes down, you don't want a 4-attack minion on the board. It's not the cleanest, but you can get back a Penflinger into your hand as well if you wanted to. I think that might actually be bad. I think you probably just leave the prep because it's not a bad card to top deck when you're going in on an Auctioneer train. Yeah,
I agree. I like the Penflinger on board also. I just feel that it's another annoyance for Alan to have to deal with. And perhaps annoyance is an understatement because he already feels so far behind here. He went face, like you said, a while ago because proccing the Octobot was far too expensive, losing his only proactive minion at the time. But now he is just hoping and praying that Glory's next hand doesn't contain that much card draw. I don't think Alan's in a world where he can play around Field Contact. He just loses against that. So I'd be inclined to just drop the Wriggling Horror, send it all to the Dome, and hope that Glory is inefficient with the way he clears up this board.
And this is just the problem with Hunter right now. Like, he's getting a little bit of damage phase. I think obviously very correctly getting the chip damage in where he can. But their minions are simply not efficient enough. Shadow Priest is an aggro deck. He's playing 1 mana 1/4s, 1 mana 2/5s, even with the dormant effect that it may have. And the Attendant as well, obviously raised dead to get it all back. Whereas for the Hunter, it's Intrepid Initiate. It's a 2-1 with charge here. Like, they get damage through, but they're very weak at contesting board, which just opens up the board for Glory to do this.
Yeah. Not going off with a Field Contact, I really like this turn. He won't get that many additional things to discount with the Octobot, but that's okay. Essentially, just discounting... Oh, I thought he was going to go One Thief and then proc the Octo, and then discount whatever he got from the One Thief and the Cult Neophyte and the Field Contact. And I was going to say, Octobot for 3 mana, definitely good enough versus Hunter because he could just play tons of Battle Cries the next turn, very likely. But instead, he goes for this line where the Cult Neophyte comes down now, and the Octobot is unchallenged on board. And it's pretty clever because the only way Alan has from off-board to deal with Octobot in one blow is the Piercing Shot, which is not available because of Cult Neophyte. So actually, Glory, I think, has found an even better spot, even though he won't necessarily discount that many things. He's just even more proactive on board.
Yeah, it's very clever, isn't it? He can proc his Octobot the turn before. Rhino comes down, goes super wide on board with the Field Contact. Like, the only thing he's really afraid of here would be Rindling's Rifle, maybe, for Freezing Trap, but even then he has the Penflinger in hand to activate it. There's just nothing you're afraid of at all.
Yeah, Alan with a shake of the head. He knows what's up when he sees this Field Contact Mana Biscuit is just more mana. Okay, if you want to get with it, sure. Oh my god, you can just play it! What? Is that even good?
1 mana, 1/1 Octobot. Imagine. Insane.
I think he can just build the board this turn and then surely some of it's going to stick, right? Because even if Alan gets the Ringling's Rifle, he can only clear 1 minion immediately. And then he can potion whatever's left the next turn as if he even needs more things.
Oi, oi, oi. You can go Penflinger your Octobot and then prep out the Shroud. Obviously, you don't discount what you get. Or you could just save the proc again, I suppose. You are wandering into Rhino territory, but I guess he's just saying if you want a Rhino into a 4 health minion, go ahead. I'm only taking 1 damage then.
And he's leaving up a field contact.
True.
It's just a catch-22. Alan has no way out of this. Yeah, this is exactly what you were talking about. If you want a Rhino, Glory wins. If you don't Rhino, Glory wins.
Yeah. It's a catch-22, not a deal 22, because Glory is very safe up at that health total.
I mean, from Alan's perspective, there's just no world where he has an out, I think, if you leave the field contact up. And because he has no option but to leave the field contact up, you kind of just bite the bullet. I mean, he knows there are 2 more minions. Every minion in this deck is a Battle Cry or an Octobot, so that field contact is going to draw.
Oh my god, this is so disgusting. So we're just obviously trying to set up a prize plunderer, but it doesn't even need to do the full suite of damage necessarily. Oi, oi, oi. Double prize plunderer will get the job done. Again, I think it's just playing around explosive off Rinling's Rifle is the only thing that anything can go wrong.
Yeah, and because he can get the prize plunderer to 4 without even using the step on it, I like that he steps one of the other minions. I thought that he might step the Guardian Og Merchant after it goes face to protect his Cult Neophyte because of that one very tiny worry of explosive trap that you were talking about. But sure, just picking up even more burn from one thief is also a way to race Alan here.
You know, I don't even think Potion is right here, but I still love it. Like, honestly, I would just rather Fireball face, but so what? Let's go, dude.
Yeah, perfect. 9 cards in hand, no overdraw, infinite resources.
Oh, that's so sick. You can just go in again next turn with a 1 mana field contact. Disgusting.
Yeah, that was this game. Alan's just 10.5 hero powers away.
Yeah. I'd be very curious to know what Alan's Fitbit says about his heart rate right now, because I think it would say call the doctor.
Hungry, aren't you?
Gonna pick up a Rhino from the Wrangler, fit in a hero power. I mean, like, there's not even a way for Glory to trip up with board space and not get the combo that way, right? Because he'll still have enough damage on board and this fireball, so it's all a formality here.
Exactly, and Alan is, you know, he's like we were saying yesterday, I'm glad that he's playing it out. He very possibly has come up with like a 0.1% random out or something like that. Like we said, it probably starts with Rinlings to blow up the board. Maybe your opponent burns both their Garots or something by overdrawing because they're stupid and then they can't actually kill you after you blow up their board. Like, there are ridiculously fringe possibilities, but basically Alan just never got to play this game.
Yep. Okay, obviously Glory has a hand space. I'm going to call it issue in quotation marks here because it doesn't matter if he overdraws. All he has to do is send this damage face and get the fireball next turn.
Quite right.
Or he could trade away the Cult Neophyte. I don't think he even needs to trade into the Warsong Wrangler. It's okay if he floats a ton of mana.
I mean, he could just end Secret Passage. Like, that just deletes a card if he's really afraid of overdrawing.
Yep.
You're paying for my discretion.
Yeah, and then he'll play the Passage, I think. There you go. 2 minions with Divine Shield, which means that even if there is an explosive trap on the other side, not everything's going to be blown up.
Oh, man.
He's going Dagger instead? Sure, it's fine. Okay, Rinling. Nope.
No such luck. I think this is probably a reasonable enough time to concede now. You can deal 6 damage to your opponent, bring that up to 8 with the hero power that gets them down to 13. And then you're technically not dead on board, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
And then Fireball. But yes.
Yeah. Okay, Alan going for locking Glory's board space here, which is pretty smart to play around Garrote out. Obviously, he won't know about the Fireball, but we can see it. We know there's no chance. Because there is a real world where if Glory did not have a Fireball, he would have to go, Passage this turn? Because literally nothing, like the Brain Freeze can't combo it out to delete a board space.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, he could just go face end the turn and he'd still win the game. He doesn't have to do anything. Like, all the analysis I can realistically give of that game is he drew the good hand. I think he played it well, you know, going for the play of bump with the Octobot, then go for the secret passage, gave him a very good chance of killing off the Bone Chewer Brawler. He hit it, saving the prep, as we talked about, I think was smart as well. Everything was done correctly by Glory. But, you know, when your opponent draws that hand as the rogue, there is essentially nothing that the hunter can do.
I remember you said you don't think the potion is correct, and you know what? Even though it didn't really add or subtract any percentage to Glory's win position because he was that far ahead, I think it might just be wrong because it can give you a headache with hand space. I mean, if there's any chance to mess up, then the potion probably contributes to that just a little bit, I think.
Yeah, just make your life easier. And here for Glory, to be fair, this deck is not one that makes your life easier necessarily. One that a lot of the pro community has been jamming as recklessly as possible, or as much as possible, in order to try and get to know the deck as intimately as possible, given that it essentially didn't exist last week. Orange has made another one of his guides. I've been playing it like a madman on ladder to mixed amounts of success, because it is... I think a very, very difficult deck to pilot. There's the constant balance that you have to do, not only between the Brutes and the OTK as the two halves of this hybrid deck, but also just in terms of like tempo versus quest completion, and very often even Brutes versus quest completion, because just drawing a bunch of cards doesn't necessarily get you Brutes any quicker. If you draw just enough cards to complete quest every turn, you're very possibly never going to be playing any Brutes, because they're going to cost 1 or 2 at the end of your turn once you've spent all your mana. And I think specifically against the aggro decks, it really tests your deep understanding of the deck. It's one of the few decks where I almost feel like it's harder to play against aggro, because you have to balance all these very disparate halves of the deck, and you don't have much time to do it in.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say as a rule of thumb, versus aggro, Brutes make a lot of sense as a priority to get down. But there can be differences between is one Brute good enough versus does 2 completely lock out the game. Because some of these aggro decks still have a couple of reactive tools, like say Park Panther for Alan in this aggro Druid, which can allow him with a couple of trades to get past a singular Brute. And if Glory has gone, say, all in on just creating one Brute, that could very well be not enough to win him the game as a whole. So we'll see whether that can pan out in this situation, because Alan does have, you know, a plausible 1-2-3 keep. We saw him yesterday keep the Elune on coin versus Surrenders list, which did not have Immolation Aura. I find that the most powerful card in this matchup is actually Far Watch Post, but I don't hate that he's keeping the Elune, because even with Immolation Aura, it's not that easy to clear her on curve.
Yeah, I was playing actually, before we went live this morning, a match against Xerios, who was playing this aggro druid, and I had a very weird game where I went like Philosophy on 1, 3-5 Moarg on 2, 3-5 Moarg on 3, but still, because he was putting so many taunts in the way of his Far Watch Post, I still couldn't get through to it, and even though I didn't complete my first layer of quest until turn 8, because I was just playing Brutes and spell damage and stuff like that, but it felt kind of powerful, and was at least showing there's different ways that you can approach this matchup. But either way, for Alan now, he's got
no.
a Another actually very interesting hand, because even though he chose to instantly break the Spectator, which I respect by playing the Broken Donkey, I like that he's actually not going for the Razormane Battle Guard here, because again, what this is doing is punishing the fact that the Demon Hunter struggles to react. Now he has the uber powerful play, the dream play of going Oracle into Razormane plus double Teacher's Pet for 1 mana. It's clear that he understands the combos that you're trying to pull off with this deck.
I mean, I would say the other play is also very strong of just going Razormane plus the Pack Mule right away. But the ceiling of this play is much higher, which is very similar to what he did yesterday, right? With saving the coin for Elune, even though there was a coin 2 into 2 curve available. I think Alan knows that the insurmountable boards is what you need to go for in this matchup. Because even if there are brutes for Glory, you can sometimes just trade them away.
Glory here going straight away with the Glide, and it looked to me like he was rewarded with a Brute, because not only was it ready to go, he gets the Philosophy as well, Tusk Piercer to make room. The absolute dream for our world champ with the double Brute. What a god.
Okay, but Alan's counter push is still pretty good, right? We were talking about how the Battle Guards will get the Teacher's Pet down to 1 mana, already hovering over the adorable Infestation. This is a full board, and it's still protecting the Elune.
You have double Battle Guard, which makes the Teacher's Pet cost 1, and then you get 2
double
of them.
Teacher's Pet.
Yeah. I was just checking if he hadn't messed anything up by going for the Insta Adorable, but no, this is still absolutely correct. And it's a strong counterplay. Glory, who felt like he just won the game on the spot, is I think had a cruel wake-up call.
Yeah. I mean, he did tweet out that my brutes aren't as cooperative as Possessies. I hope Possessies brutes can teach my brutes what to do. Felt like he got the lesson done here, but is it going to be enough? Because this Glide actually benefits Alan on average if Glory wants to play it, and he has no way to non-outcast the Glide.
Yeah, he obviously could go about quest completion in another way with just swinging another weapon, trade in the Peddler as well, but that's just using up a lot of mana, and you're discounting cards that you don't especially care about. So I kind of think it is just the Glide, and accept that you're giving them a better hand.
Okay, 3 drops for Alan are about the average. The Bear Shark's quite annoying for Demon Hunter to deal with. But this Educated AlanC could be quite annoying for Alan. Of course, it only shuffles the cards into his deck after it dies, and it might not die for some time, but currently Glory's putting a bunch of Demon Hunter trash in Alan's streamlined deck.
Okay, this does now mean that any of the big 5-cost taunts, be it Grave Out or Teacher's Pet, will only cost 3 now, so they can't be duplicated from the Oracle, which is a very, very big deal. And most importantly, Glory has got himself the ultimate board clear. Guild Trader plus Immo on the following turn will likely clear up anything that Alan can play.
There's no way for him to get out of range of it, right? That 6-point AoE, even if he puts this other Adorable on the Oracle of Elune, she's still within range. I think you just don't play around it as Alan. Glory has 4 cards, and his game plan says one thing: play this Pack Mule for 2 copies, trade away 2 minions, probably buff the Elune still, send everything face.
I guess the one thing I would look at is Peasant is interesting, because you could obviously say, I think it's very valid to say, I don't think you have any removal. If you do, I'm probably losing the game anyway, so you just go all in. But you could save Peasant and Adorable to allow you to play a Peasant that can't be killed with just the hero power on the following turn, which maybe gives you that 1 extra card for the refill that you need.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like I'd rather get the card draw ASAP.
That's fair.
Okay, he's trading away the AlanC instead of the Bear Shark here, which means he now has a couple Demon Hunter cards in the deck.
True, yeah, what a Spectral Sight, which I'm not too upset with, to be fair, even if the Fell Screen Blast does truly suck.
Oh? What was the mistake here? I'm unsure.
The way he traded, he could have just traded the Bear Shark instead of hero powering plus a 3-attack minion.
Yeah, that's not strictly wrong though. He could
Yeah.
be like valuing the bear shark. I don't know, maybe he wanted the adorable in the deck, but I don't think you want to. Because then you would
that's
play it
true.
before you play the AlanC.
Yeah.
We know Alan's a very self-critical player and not even a flinch at that board clear. I felt like he knew it was coming, but there was very little he could do to play around it.
Looks like it's holding on to the Cubs for composting, I would guess, is the best card you can get just to make sure you have some amount of refill.
Or Arbor Up potentially.
True.
But I felt like they were relatively safe on board with this time because Glory's only playing one copy of Immolation Aura, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
They will never catch me.
Pleasure
It's
doing this.
Glory holding on to this glide for dear life, just not trying to give Alan any resources, and that is a brute again.
Yeah, that's Kurtrus in hand, ready for next turn. Brute on the board. And he's even got the weapon still intact to go with Kurtrus plus draw. It's looking like a real long shot. Even with above average top decks like that for Alan, it's not going to come close, I don't think.
I agree. If he hits the 1/1 Divine Shield Poison from the Teacher's Pet, he has a way to kill the Brute. Maybe? I don't know. Glory has this double jump as his only card draw that he wants to use aside from the tradable, because the glide, I think he's just earmarked that as a dead card in hand. So if he bricks, maybe?
Maybe.
Now there's Zixor Prime can enter the deck as well.
Okay, choosing to kill it off, sure.
Okay, Alan needs composting. Maybe Arbor Up, also good enough here.
Oh, the Spectral as well. He's just drawing a
Oh,
cards now.
man. Yeah, no bricks in this city. Acorn into composting? Oh, no. Okay. Zixor Prime off the top. Next card. And he needs to not die in the meantime.
Okay, I like where your head's at. I mean, I think if Glory just... Okay, I was going to say if he just plays his minions. I guess if you play out all your minions and then they have Zixor off the top, maybe there's some amount of small hope that can get there. But I ain't seeing it right now.
Oh my gosh. What if you do just play all the minions? Yeah. It's an Il'gynoth. That's the best one.
I mean, you can just fairly realistically hit lethal, right? It hasn't been both Fell Scream Blast used, I don't think.
Yeah.
They will never catch me.
Look, Insta Sigil Runner. It looks like he is just going for the lethal here. One more Acro playable. I don't think he quite has the... Oh, wait. The Moarg has the Acro Aura, so he'll draw 2 more from it.
Yeah.
Why not do that?
Unless it was the tradable. I mean, I guess he's wondering, does he want to? He just wants to make sure that he has the combo 100% next turn. As we said, if Zixor does come off the top, how do you play around that?
I mean, if you just get Fell Scream Blast here, it is only 12 damage with 2 Moargs at the moment. Oh, sorry. With the Guild Trader, it's 18. And it's not the full clear yet, but like Glory never dies from 12, right?
Philosophy, Moarg, no mana.
Healing instead.
Okay, he can deal 7 plus the 6. Yeah, it's not lethal, but it is, I think, essentially lethal, because even if the Zixor comes down, it has to attack twice. Oh, wow, it was actually Zixor. You have to attack twice into Il'gynoth, which just effectively kills you anyway.
Best you can do is remove Kurtrus, Moarg, and Snake. And that would leave the Il'gynoth to attack for 8, and then you just don't have enough minions to push for counter lethal because 2 of the 4/4s have to die, right? I think it's just unlock for Glory here. Pretty funny that was shuffled to the top of the deck, though.
Right, especially when he has a 24-card deck on turn 9 because of the AlanC as well. Very weird shuffling nonsense happening here. But either way, as we can see, I don't think it's going to save him.
Glory's reaction.
So what, you trade, you have 2 of them left on board.
Right.
The Il'gynoth
One of
deals
them-
8.
Yeah, he's not dead next turn, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no more damage. But Il'gynoth can just trade, and the 1/1 can trade as well. Glory's not dead to fatigue the next turn, and then Alan has no good top decks, I'm pretty sure. So all the Glory does here is play all his minions,
Yeah.
trade, be safe against Arbor Up, and that's a lock next turn.
There is a Fellscream Blast in Alan's deck. You do have to be
there
careful
is?
of, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you play too many
Wait.
Moargs, you can give them a huge Fellscream Blast that could potentially
Right.
heal for 1,000,000.
Right, so this is better, right? This is
Yeah.
still just a lethal setup.
Yeah, I think this is the play. And then Park Panther off the top. Again, it's one of the better top decks, but it's still not enough. Even with the 4 that you deal, they're just surviving. That was a closer end than I thought it was going to be, with Glory getting there in a somewhat scrappy fashion. But there it is, lethal available.
Yeah. Glory's turn 2 turns ago was a bit interesting because I don't think he ever had access to lethal with the mana remaining,
Right.
given that the Moargs were all in hand before purchase, so they cost 2. The Il'gynoth was discounted, but I was interested in him maybe playing a couple more minions than what he ended up on, because he did weave in a hero power so that the 7 damage could go face. I'm not sure if that was more relevant than just having a wider board, but I completely forgot about the Fellscream in the deck that you highlighted a while ago, which if you do end the turn with your own Moargs on the board, then maybe Alan can abuse that with the educated AlanC shuffle. So fair enough. I think Glory was playing around that right from the beginning.
Yeah, and honestly, I would have given an arm and a leg to see that. That would have been the coolest win of all time. I think the one thing that maybe could have happened for Glory is he could have essentially cheated a mana. If he'd traded his Guild Trader first, then play the Moarg, he could have played a 0 mana Guild Trader rather than a 2 mana Guild Trader, and obviously the trade only costs 1, which I think maybe could have afforded him lethal. But even then, the fact that the Annoyatron was in the way with Divine Shield, I think even messes that up, because the Kurtras can't cleanly go face. So I do think you're right. It was probably not any way to get guaranteed lethal on that turn for Glory, or at least very, very, very niche were it to be available. And it means either way that he's moving on 2 games to 0, and it's just his Shadow Priest left over. And even though Alan was in a similar situation yesterday against Surrender, started off 2-0, but then got the reverse sweep, Glory's Shadow Priest, I think, is going to be a much tougher deck to reverse sweep than the hybrid Demon Hunter from Surrender yesterday.
It's a massive favorite when we look at all of Alan's remaining decks as a whole, because Alan was banning Shadow Priest yesterday. It goes to show that after Delete Lock, this is probably his next highest priority ban. That's because the hero power trades too favorably into all of his little minions in the early game. Minions of the size of Frazzled Freshman, even just a Void Touched Attendant, trade very well into all these 1-drops. So Alan really needs to get a perfect curve going, something of the level of explosivity we saw a while ago with that Oracle of Elune, which is a possibility now that he's on coin. But Glory just straight away keeping the Gandling is already showing where his head is at in the matchup, which I'm honestly not sure if you should do in the mirror, in an aggro mirror when you're on play. It means that there's a chance you don't do anything strong on board until turn 4. I'm a bit scared for Glory, honestly.
Yeah, I guess relying on the redundancy of cheap cards in his deck, which we have seen players fall victim to. It's not something you can necessarily rely on. But the thing is that unless there's... I mean, the only thing that can answer it is Park Panther. And to be fair, if there is a Park Panther on board, it's pretty good. You are definitely going to be struggling there because it can get a VT and cleanly take it out. But Glory has just been met with a very clean curve from keeping no good early game cards.
Yeah, if you're going to hit this curve afterward, then sure. But for Alan, this top deck is amazing. I was just going to say the fact that Glory had the Guardian Og Merchant and can preserve his ping is really big to answer this Battle Guard that Alan wanted to play this turn to set up the Teacher's Pet. But now that there's a Bone Chewer Brawler in the way, it's a bit more inconvenient for Glory. Looking for Wriggling Horror, doesn't quite hit it, but the Voracious Reader still pretty good for that 1 draw. It's meaning that he's not falling behind into the Gandling turn, which was my real worry at the beginning of this. But Alan potentially now gets a good Teacher's Pet.
Oh, Glory considering the preemptive trade in order to give him a hero power to take it out even through a taunt.
Super smart.
Quite like it, actually. Yeah, I think it's clever.
And for Alan here, now the Teacher's Pet doesn't... I mean, obviously you're cheating a lot of mana, but the temptation to go Park Panther to clear everything up is real because that's a voracious reader you're potentially leaving on the board. But Alan says, no, gonna let Glory have the chance to draw additional cards, and in the meantime, cheat the most mana he can. It's all about tempo.
Oh, so what are we looking at now? That's potentially a tour guide, which is pretty good, right? To be able to get in that hero power for the squirrel. Freshman, not bad either.
With all this stuff, though, I don't actually think he can maneuver the reader to get him more draws. I guess if you play all the 1-drops, but it feels super inefficient. And you kind of want to play the Deceptor while it's active, right?
Yeah, that is true. I agree. I think you're probably losing out on a card draw here.
Means that the Teacher's Pet remains intact for Alan. He does have a pretty good Park Panther into, I guess, the Frazzled Freshman. Wow, the Acorns are huge as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is
gotta
getting
be a Panther turn, right?
Does it, though? You go Oracle into Vibrant Squirrel. It's hidden behind a Taunt, which means any top deck you get becomes pretty good. Most cards in your deck cost 2 or less.
But you could potentially play that top deck next turn still, and the Panther having the mana spent means you get the 3 attack every single turn. That's really big. It's better than the Priest Hero power, essentially. So you can trade the Freshman, hit down the Deceptor, and then trade the Reader. Well ahead on board right now, but Glory has the counter push. Minimum 2 minions from Ganling, 3 possibly.
Okay, so you go Tiny Fin first, then the Raised Dead. Glory always gets this order perfectly correct whenever we've seen it come down. And you're hoping for another 0 cost. He misses, but okay. Still another 4/4.
I think you probably just trade in the Attendant for a 4/4 here. You're not looking for that damage augmenting from this matchup. You just want to have the maximum stats. So in the world where the Ganling is removed, you'd rather have a 1-mana 1/4 in hand. And the Ganling can be removed with Park Panther going in a 4/4, and then he can Hero Power trade the Squirrel. But Hero Power is so expensive here. Maybe you just like Park Panther Squirrel, and then you play the other Teacher's Pet?
Yeah, I'm thinking, what, you go... Trade it in. That's going there. So's your hero power. And then Squirrel has to trade into the 1/1 because otherwise your 1 health Teacher's Pet is able to be taken out by the tour guide.
So then you just use your hero power in the 1/1 and the Squirrel goes in the Ganling, right?
Oh no, and then Teacher's Pet's coming down too.
It's all very... Sorry, not hero power. I meant the Park Panther buff you get.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, that's going in with the
into the 1/1, and then the 4/4 and 2/1 in Ganling.
Oh, true. Actually, yeah. Sorry, that's just a way to take less damage, isn't it? Yeah.
But he is gonna go for the hero power play, which allows him to take down 2 4/4s here and gets the Allude down.
Okay.
Which I actually think this is probably better because he was going to, with our play, overkill the tour guide by 2, which feels very inefficient here. Like, yes, his Teacher's Pet is done on board, but it was going to be done on board to a 4/4 otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Ooh. That's
low-key, insane.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty dang good.
Alan's just back in this versus a Ganling opener from Glory. He's winning!
He is currently winning. We'll see what comes off of the Voracious Reader, because that can obviously turn things around. Right now, it's essentially just a value battle, and I feel like Alan's just winning it. You've got Vibrant Squirrel plus Teacher's Pet on this turn to get double Squirrel and a big Taunt in the way. That's a lot of nuts.
It's a lot of nuts. And you probably just poison the Reader, send the Alune face, and be chilling. Like, how is this 1/3 and 1/4 going to get through a Teacher's Pet? Even with Wriggling Horror, the trades are not nice. I think Alan can abuse the Void Touched Attendant effect for himself and start the face race. Like, there is the option to get double Far Watch Post, but no way is that better in this position. Like, Glory, even with the expensive cards drawn, will still be able to play his whole hand at this juncture. Really? Is it really not Teacher's Pet?
That's so surprising to me. I mean, you get the hero power, so you can take out 2 minions this way, rather than just the 1. And I guess he's valuing taking out the 1-4 with the poison, whereas I was imagining he'd just leave up the 1-4, but again, he's milking this value for as much as he possibly can. And Glory says, you know what? That's enough. And the Druid is through, the first of the gauntlets against the Shadow Priest. And Alan prevails. It's still possible, Gia. He's got the Hunter left and then the Mirror, right? The Shadow Priest Mirror to close things out. It's going to be such a close one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really didn't expect this pan out where Glory keeps the Gandling, and obviously it was insane on the turn where it happened, but the fact that he fell ever so slightly behind in the early game allowed Alan to preemptively develop that Park Panther, which worked as, essentially 10 damage throughout the course of that game, maybe even 14, 2 attacks, and then 2 buffs of your hero. And that amount of damage being able to go anywhere for trades was enough to offset the amount of stats that Glory got from the Gandling. That was very, very well done. I'm still a bit confused about Watch Post over Teacher's Pet at the end, but it was all winning, to be fair, because Glory simply did not have a good enough way to trade off all of the squirrels and the Alloon at that point from Alan.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I think the early game was played very well by Alan. It was pretty much the absolute turbo nuts he got. Like, you don't really get much better than that with the Battle Guard into a taunt as well, and then follow up with the 5-cost taunt for 3 mana. But agreed, sequenced well and played well with the Park Panther as well. I think you and him were absolutely correct on the turn where you play that over the Oracle of Alloon. And so now taking a look at the list we have for the Mirror, very, very standard stuff from both players, I believe. I'm just trying to see if there are any differences in the list whatsoever, but it's 1 Kulturan and then 2 of everything else that can be 2 of. So it's as pure of a mirror as you can get heading into our 4th game of the series. And once again, a crucial win for Alan. He's 2-1 down. He needs to win twice more against this Shadow Priest. But if he can do it, our boy might just be able to save himself this season.
Maybe. This Mirror is very explosive because of Gandling. That is a card I would advocate you keep even on the play in this matchup, just because there's so little reactivity on the other side. There's pings, but only 1 a turn, and your Gandling has a lot of health on it. Glory straight away keeping the Attendant and Kulturan Chaplain. Chaplain is amazing in the Mirror. Anything to buff health in the early game is of utmost importance because it's all about the board trades. Alan gonna go ahead and keep his Tour Guide with the Attendant. Tour Guide also pretty good to get you cheap ways to deal with your opponent's early game minions. No one with the super blowout of the Homunculus on either side just yet, but Glory with the potential to play Merchant, although his opening curve doesn't look like he's actually able to coin out the Chaplain to buff anything immediately.
Yeah, he really wanted to have an extra 1 or 0 drop here because he knows that if he just plays the Attendant, he's going to be met... if he plays anything, he's going to be met with VT and hero power to kill it off. That's still worth something, of course, because it disrupts your opponent's turn. It means they're not going Kulturan of their own or Neophyte or whatever. He has to play it, but it does not feel good.
Alan prioritizing his Kulturan, allowing Glory the potential of Kulturan for himself, which Alan, it becomes complete parity on board, right? But Alan has the initiative of how to dictate the trades, so it still works out okay.
Yeah, just completely ignoring each other's high health minions, saying, you know what, I don't even want to look at that. I'm just going to punch you in the face instead and see what happens.
Ooh.
And this is now getting pretty spicy. Yeah, big first merchant as well. And value trades available, value trades ignored. This is not how the Priest Mirror is played.
Not usually. I feel like Wriggling is very scary here for Alan, but he's like, it's off curve maybe? He says he's okay with that possibility and he doesn't want to waste the extra 2 damage he gets from there being 2 Void Touches on board, but I'm not sure.
I mean, to be fair, Alan just has the initiative. He's going first, so if they're just playing the exact same hand as each other, he gets to punch his opponent 1 turn earlier.
Maybe. He's also got the Raise Dead, but the Wriggling for Glory allows him to go for a VT on the 2-3, which is maybe not that great because that leaves it in ping range. So I actually like this double trade into the Attendant anymore. It leaves all the minions at awkward health totals for Alan to deal with, unless he has a Wriggling of his own. He now has Gandling, though.
Yeah.
Which is not dead on board, but would require a ping to kill. And if Glory has to take 2 trades and a ping to deal with the Gandling, I feel like it's already kind of done its job.
But you just go Kultiran into Wriggling Horror, Merchant into their Kultiran, and then it is alive on board, right?
True, true. Yeah, sorry, I tunnel vision on the attendant, but this is just much better.
It's insane. I don't think there's really an answer to this for Glory. I don't think there's really a comeback to this from Glory, because you can play a big Merchant, absolutely, is a 5-6 on this turn, which is good. But then your opponent just plays a million failed students and you lose.
Yep. With the Merchants, the best he's got. With the Frazzled Freshman, it's going to go up to a 5 attack minion.
Yeah.
Well, not enough to challenge Gandling on its own, but at least it can VT a failed student, potentially. Glory's just hoping that Alan's hand is Brick City right now. All expensive cards, but it's not so. There's Raise Dead, there's Tour Guide. There's Kulturan back in the pool if you'd rather have it, but I think the pool is currently... I guess there's a Merchant in the pool, which is very expensive for Alan to play, so I guess trading Kulturan first makes sense.
Yeah, Kulturan, Tour Guide, then the Raise Dead. I think he's curating this very nicely.
Ping first, so you don't take extra damage from Raise Dead?
Sure, yeah, okay, true, that makes sense. That's clever.
I don't think the ping's going anywhere else this turn.
Yeah, I would have missed that, that's nice.
Even if he does get Wriggling Horror, he still has to trade into the 2-3, so...
Okay, I mean, you can always trade it, but... I mean, maybe you just go Voracious Reader, right? Just like... play the other ones, you can always just trade the Traveling Merchant or save it for when your Gandling's dead.
I feel like I'd rather just get the 4-4 right now if you just call it a 3-mana 4-4. Oh, but yeah, he's choosing
That's what
Reader
I mean.
rather than...
Reader, yeah.
Okay, sure, yeah. The Homunculus, for anyone who wasn't aware, does not immediately transform into a 4-4 because it's a dormant when it hits the board. Well... He has Trade Gandling, Play Reader Neophyte.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it's kind of ironic, that interaction, because in my experience, just because you're sleeping, it doesn't mean you can't become a failed student. My experience was the exact opposite of that, actually.
You can buff the Merchant to 5, which is pretty good HP against this board.
Pretty good, yeah.
I mean, the fact that Glory is not completely out of this just yet is amazing, but I still think he's very far behind, because Alan can likely just ignore that 5-5 from this point, send everything to the dome. Maybe trade a couple minions because of Void Touched Attendant outs, but if you have 12 right now and a ping, I guess it's still 1 ping away from lethal.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of think you just keep VTing forever and ever. There's zero comeback mechanisms in this deck, and as long as you're ahead on board, you will win the game. Oh,
well, that's lethal, right?
That's just lethal. Yep, 12, 15, 18. That's gonna do it. And Gia, the comeback might be alive. Alan, 2 days in a row, starts things off 0-2, and 2 days in a row might get the reverse sweep. All that is left for him to do is to win with his Hunter.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe that it's panned out like this. I felt like this Priest was going to be the most difficult one to get wins against. Of course, the Mirror, we can toss that aside, it's a 50-50, but the Aggro Druid, a lot of the time they just get beat down by the pings and the efficiency of the early minions. And Alan has managed to do it twice in a row now. It has to be with the Hunter last, which I feel like is going to be the most difficult of the matchups, but not impossible, right? This is a matchup where you do tend to fall behind on board, but if you at least keep pace for maybe the first 2-3 turns, you can initiate the face race instead and do that a lot more efficiently than Priest from off board. You can take advantage of Void Touched Attendant sticking around. The Rhino with weapon is huge. Rinling's rifle can sometimes be huge to get explosive trap. It's definitely not impossible.
Far from it. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one though, because Hunter, again, as I've said, off stream it may have been the highest win rate deck at the end of the off stream matches, but so far on stream it has not reflected that. This deck has looked weak. It has looked underpowered in the early game. You're simply not playing high value enough minions, high statted enough minions to keep up with your opponent. And especially when Glory has a killer hand like this, I really think Alan is going to struggle to keep up with all of this.
Insta full keep from Glory. The hand just says coin double one into Wriggling Horror, into Deceptor for Raise Dead, get back anything that might have died in the meantime, and completely dominate the board. I was going to say the one thing Alan has going for him is that he's on the play again, which is huge in these aggro mirrors if you hit the one drop. But against this type of opener, I don't know if that initiative is enough to buy him the game, especially with... I mean, it's a curve, but it's so inefficient compared to what Glory has. Okay. Dream Crescent, low-key, very good in the matchup. It allows his Cult Neophyte to take a value trade right away.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely the way to go. He can go for killing off a even a Frazzled Freshman, right? Actually, straight out the gate, which is pretty big.
And already that weapon is causing Glory to reevaluate his plan. It looked like it was straightforward to coin 1-1 into Wriggling, which you can't do for full value if one of those one drops is the Imprisoned Homunculus. But because of the weapon, he might be thinking now, I don't want to feed Alan a possible value trade into either Bone Chewer, Brawler, or Cult Neophyte. Looks like he is defaulting back to game plan A though. Oh, okay.
Interesting. I guess the thinking is that with this play, even if it dies to the Cult Neophyte, it survives against a Bone Chewer Brawler immediately, which means that you still have something on board and can then hero power it down.
And Alan's hand is two halves of good synergies that you want to have.
Right.
Like the Rinling, very good in the matchup to get explosive and maybe stall out for a couple turns, but he would have to override his True Aim Crescent to get it on turn 4, which he really wants to pair with the Rhino. Even though this initiate is off curve, just getting minions on board one way or another, I feel is a really big deal for Alan. He's just playing off the top for next turn too, looking for the War Song Wrangler. Even a Man-Crick you'd probably take, even if it's off curve. Just survive until the Rhino can get him back in positive board state.
Yeah, honestly, I think you would take a quick shot or an aimed shot here as well. Like, you're just looking for anything to be able to spend your mana, to clear the board, to make sure that things are not too dire when you lead up into your Trampling Rhino.
Yeah, a spell, I forgot, also just buffs the Initiate, which is pretty big to take good trades. So, Glory here, I'm pretty sure it still ends up being Wriggling Horror. Oh, he's pinging, okay.
Okay. Which means that a
piercing shot. Okay.
Ooh,
decent.
That's a clear. That is now a clear with the quick shot. I guess the 2-5 and then oh no, you end up taking the same damage actually because the effect of the attendant. It doesn't really matter what you shoot here.
I wonder.
Right, I think.
Yeah, because you have to hit the attendant to kill it.
Yeah.
Either or the homunculus. I think Alan is just doing the double check in his head as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is way too clean of a turn to not be grabbing. Like, even though there's 2 minions on board, there's always going to be 2 minions on board. Rhino will be able to clear 2 things up next turn, 100%.
There was one way to get the wrong order here, which was quick shot the homunculus and then attack the homunculus with your weapon, where you take 3 damage that way. But obviously, Alan not going to fall for that. He has the Rhino for 2 attacks next turn. This is the big swing he was trying to set up, but will it be enough? Glory will have 3 minions, it looks like, by the end of this.
Yeah, at least. Maybe even 4 with the Desk Imp as well, which is kind of annoying, actually, because obviously if you... Well, I guess you can attack the Rhino into that first and then use the weapon to clear off something else, which maybe is the game plan for Alan. Like, we can see Glory here already kind of afraid to play these Void Touched attendants. He knows the potential for Rhino to deal extra damage is really, really scary.
He's cleverly left a total of 3 attack on board so that if the Rhino does come down, it's only a ping away from dying. Glory is accepting that he's taking 4 damage from the Rhino and the weapon hit. But that's kind of safe, you know, to be at 17, but say that I'll have the board from the rest of this game. Alan, from this point, has just Adorable Infestation, not even a hope of getting back on board to win the game, but maybe with the help of Rinling's rifle, with consecutive top decks of Burn, he can just get there over the top, especially if Glory feels like he is safe to play the Void Touched Attendants.
Oh, it's so scary. Like, if he plays them, then obviously he's being more aggressive, but he is taking more damage. If he doesn't, this hand doesn't really do that much, though. He can't clear it out to play Voracious Reader to draw more cards, but maybe he doesn't even need to. But at the same time, if you play it too slowly, you're just going to get hero powered every turn because you're not actually threatening any counter pressure.
I do think he has to play 1 here. It's not that scary just yet. Spend your mana. Yeah, gonna play the Desk Imp too if you play that. And now Alan has the Rinling's rifle. 1 chance for it to go. Oh, wait a second. That's another Rhino. Yep.
Slam down on the board so quick. She actually bugged out. And now again, Glory is going to know almost 100% that there is a Rhino in hand. And so it becomes kind of high priority to get rid of these attendants again. You want to trade it in just so that you're not dying to extra burst damage.
I mean, he can calculate if he can set up a counter push. How much does the Rhino actually do this turn? If it goes into a 2-5, it's dealing... Well, I guess he swings first. So it's dealing 3 plus attendant, 4, and then 7 into the Desk Imp. If the attendant stays alive, that's probably not safe. With hero power, he's just dead. So I do think he has to trade in.
Well, he can buff up the...
True.
The taunt, which is kind of interesting. He could even then go on to trade away the the Neophyte and the Imp, so that the lowest health minions on board after you go Gandling, Wriggling Horror would be 4 health, would be the lowest health minion on the board, right?
That sounds really good. It just makes the Rhino as inefficient as possible. I like the line a lot. And by that point, you can actually safely leave up the Void Touched Attendant because then it's just threatening the counter lethal instead. Okay, wait. Doesn't Glory just have lethal? I mean, Alan just have lethal now? Wait, did I miscount this?
He has 3 plus 7 plus the hero power. He's 1 off?
Is it? Okay. It tramples, it deals 4 because you swing into the attendant, so it's at 4 health.
Right. It
deals 3 plus attendant, right? And then you trample the 1/1, which is 7 already including attendant, which is 11. And then hero power is 3 because of the attendant. I think Glory just left Alan lethal, if I'm counting this right.
3 damage goes up to 4 because of the attendant. 4 plus 7 is 11 hero power. I think you're right.
I think it's lethal. I think Glory gave Alan lethal.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, the line you spotted was good, but the wriggling to either buff the homunculus or trade away the 1/1 or possibly do both to be immune to everything. Alan counting it once, twice, thrice. He spots it. Glory knows what's up. And he knew that this Rhino was in hand because Alan would never do Finger in that spot. Glory, what happened? Alan's just through.
Unbelievable. A complete throw from Glory just gives Alan the win. He's done it 2 days in a row. He gets the reverse sweep and he's through to the finals.
Speechless. We can only call that a mathematical error from Glory. I'm sure he was counting it up in his head and maybe he just missed the 1 damage somewhere, maybe didn't account for the weapon, getting the homunculus down to 4 HP, because he was very possibly thinking, if Alan only has the Rhino, then I can just survive at 1 and then push for the counter lethal. But still, it's not just that to account for. What if Alan had Rhino quick shot instead of Rhino hero power, right? Even miscounting by 1 would not leave you safe. It's like, I feel Glory had so many opportunities to be safer there with the line you outlined of trading away the Desk Imp and possibly the Neophyte, buffing up the homunculus to have as much attack as possible. I don't know, Derek. It just seemed uncharacteristically sloppy at the end, but I don't want that to take away from Alan's victory because what a guy. He's just reverse swept 2 days in a row with a lineup that nobody expected.
So if he'd gone with the other line, he would have taken 3 on the first hit because it would have been a 6 health, you attack with the weapon, and then the Neophyte, the attendant effect makes it 3, and then 4 Yeah, it just wouldn't have even been close. It would have been like 3 damage off lethal with the other line. Unbelievable way for that to end out. I guess Glory trying to represent counter-lethal on the following turn, but literally just miscounting the amount of damage that Alan would have available. Alan himself obviously couldn't believe it as he took a full like 30 seconds at the end just to double, triple, quadruple check everything.